friends called my husband on a girls' night out and told him I met someone else, and then
Have you ever had a friend who gave you some really bad advice? Well, I certainly have. And let me tell you, it didn't end well for me. There is a phrase that says, rather trust a stone than a human being. They say, listen to your inner voice, your soul, then listen to a friend or anyone else, especially if they were giving advice that would destroy your life and what you are building. I hate the fact that I trusted my friend and went ahead with her advice, only for me to be in the deep end and lose everything I was trying to build. My husband didn't do anything to me or anyone for that matter, but I was encouraged by a friend of mine to pull a prank on him, and guess what happened? I lost the most loving and caring person I had ever had. Today, I want to share a story with you that happened to me recently. It's a cautionary tale about the consequences of making poor choices and underestimating the power of karma. I wish I had made the right choice of decision. I wish I didn't even listen to what my friend had advised me on. Now I'm all alone, lonely with no husband and nothing. I can't believe I actually listened to the bad choice and took action on it. I just hate myself for that. I have to admit, though, things have gotten pretty complicated because of my actions. You know, sometimes we do things thinking it would just be a harmless and innocent fun, not knowing that the fun we had would become our worst nightmare. I didn't know it would turn out like how it had turned. I didn't even get a warning, but either way, it became my worst nightmare. I'll be using fake name to protect the privacy of the involved parties. My name is Brittany Smith, female 29, and my husband is Bradley James, male 29. Bradley and I met at Central Park. I was going through a lot that day. I had just lost my parents and things at home were not looking good. So Central Park was the only escape for me. So as I was sitting on the park benches reading my book while listening to music, Brandon came and asked if he could sit. At first I didn't hear him because of the earphone that I had on my ears up until he nudged my shoulder. I gave him the go-ahead to sit on the bench since it was nor occupied. I was reading a book called The White Book, written by Han Kang. I loved reading that novel. It gave me some sort of peace and assurance that everything was going to be fine. Bradley asked me when I had started reading the book. I tried to ignore him, but he kept nudging me and distracting me. I finally gave him my attention, only to find out that he was actually a fan of Han Kang. We talked about the book, and he even introduced me to other Han Kang books. Growing up, I always valued my friendships deeply. My friends were my confidants, my partners in crime, and my support system. When I married Bradley, I brought my friends along into the intimate circle of our marriage. I believed that they could only enhance our lives together, offering support and joy. I had no reason to suspect that this trust would be misplaced. Bradley and I had been married for 5 years. Our relationship built on love, trust, and mutual respect. We shared everything from our dreams to our fears. But as I would soon learn, involving friends in our marriage could bring unforeseen consequences. So I had a friend, her name is Mandy Lawrence, female 29. We had been friends since high school. She was a very wild person. She loved partying a lot while I was just an introvert. I don't really know how we became friends because our personalities do not match. We were way too different. My aunt didn't like her. She would say she's too forward and loose, so she didn't want me to associate myself with her. Despite my aunt's disapproval, I continued being friends with Mandy secretly without my aunt knowing. When I got into a relationship with Bradley, I had scars on seeing Mandy. I was always spending my time with Bradley, not because I didn't like to spend time with Mandy, but Bradley understood me better, you know. He knew what I needed and at what time. Mandy was always out partying. She wasn't available when I needed her the most, but Bradley was there. He would even drop anything that he would be doing and attend to my call. How did I get here? How did I mess such a good thing that was going on between Bradley and myself? I loved my friend Mandy a lot. Heck, I took her as my sister. Everything that she would say to advise me, I could take it, but it would depend on what I was going through at that time. Mandy was the kind of a friend that would tell you what to do and find a way to convince you until you give in. I should have figured out that her advice of making me prank on my husband was because she never liked Bradley and she wanted to test our marriage. She would always find something to say about him. She would make sure to find a fault in everything Bradley did. My friend told me that I could just prank my husband and get away with it because he loves me so much and she wanted to test his love for me. I didn't really know what that meant at the time, but she made it sound like it was a sure thing. At first, I was taken aback by her audacity. How could she suggest such a thing? But as she continued to explain her theory, I found myself intrigued by the idea of getting away with something so forbidden. So I listened to her and started seeing someone behind my husband's back. I thought I was being sneaky, that I had it all figured out. But boy, was I wrong. Sure, my husband was a humble and down-to-earth person, but he was not easily manipulative. I took Mandy's advice because I had thought it was going to be a once-off thing and Bradley was not going to act the way he acted. I wanted to have a little bit of fun and feel how it was to go outside and explore and experience new things that you had never experienced before. So against my better judgment, I decided to follow her advice. I know it was very dumb and very foolish of me to listen to someone who was not married while I was married. I didn't even think of the consequences that would take place when Bradley hears that I had orchestrated the prank that was pulled on him. I just wanted to feel some type of way for a little bit and to see how Bradley would react. I began an affair behind my husband's back, thinking that I would never get caught. Then I pranked him with my friend, telling him that I had found my dream man. I felt invincible, untouchable even. It was supposed to be a harmless joke. So Mandy and I went to this party. It was one of her own friends' parties, and to say it was nice would be an understatement. It was lit, the vibe was there, and everything was just so perfect. As introverted as I am, but I enjoyed that party a lot. Of course, I had lied to Bradley about where I was going because if I had told him, he would have told me not to go. I just don't know what was happening between Mandy and Bradley, but their spirits didn't connect. They didn't like each other, and that was somehow affecting me. I was in the middle of their own beef. So at the party, Mandy introduced me to this certain guy. She introduced him as Lucas Jordan. The guy was really handsome. I won't lie, but he was not as handsome as my husband Bradley. The Lucas guy was so talkative for my liking, and he was a loquacious and a narcissist person. Throughout the whole night that I had spent with him, it was about him and what he finds interesting. The guy was very handsome and all, but he had no brains, just being a foolish narcissist.
Damn it.
Mandy came back and I told her that I wanted to go back home since it was past midnight. I told her that Bradley must be worried about me, especially since my phone's battery had died. My friend, or must I say my so-called friend Mandy, convinced me to stay and told me to let loose a little and be myself, and not act like I was a 50-year-old grandma. After a lot of convincing that she did, I finally gave in. Then she told me that even if I find someone attractive, I shouldn't be scared to explore and enjoy that person. It wasn't like my husband would find out, and she had a better plan, which was to prank my husband. I know I should have defended my husband and not let Mandy's manipulative self get into my head, but what did I do? I just fell straight on her trap, and I was the one who found myself in hot waters. I found myself in the crossroad, not knowing where I was going and where I should go. I shouldn't have allowed Mandy to do that to me in my marriage. But I guess I was too naive to notice that Mandy was actually trying to destroy my marriage. So during that night, the boring Lucas guy and I continued to engage in a casual conversation. I was glad that he had finally stopped talking about himself like he was in a competition with someone or someone was going to tell him that he was lying. Our conversation was smooth. I drank a lot trying to forget about my husband that I had left at home and what Mandy wanted us to do. I got intoxicated and I found myself kissing Lucas. His lips were soft and tender. But one thing that threw me off was the way he was kissing me. He didn't have the skills to kiss. The only thing he was chasing was what was in between my legs.
No.
But another thing, he knew how to explore a woman's body, that I can give him a 10 out of 10. He took me from the party to another planet. I felt like I was floating in clouds. That's how much I was enjoying the way he was exploring my body. I loved every moment of it. Besides the kissing skills, the guy had great body exploration skills and good intimate drive. He made me reach my climax within a few minutes, and I don't know how many times I had climaxed. That's how good it was. The following morning, I realized what I had done. The guilt was eating me up so bad to a point that I was even scared to go back home. I didn't know how I would look into my husband's eyes and act like everything was normal while I had committed such abomination. I hated myself for what I had done, and I was regretting it greatly. I thought to myself that a lot would be destroyed if Bradley was to find out. I had gone out there and jeopardized my marriage and relationship with my husband. I was so angry at Mandy for manipulating me to go to the party and to stay when I said I wanted to go back home. My mind kept telling me that Mandy had planned all of this. She knew what would happen when I agreed to stay. She made me chill with that Lucas guy for a purpose. I couldn't believe myself that I was easily manipulated like that, and I was really scared of the outcomes of my abomination because nothing stays in the dark forever. You know, you cannot sweep off something and put it under the carpet and think it would stay there forever. What happened in the dark will always find its way to the light. That morning, Mandy came out of nowhere. I don't know how she knew where I was, but I didn't put that in mind. I was just happy that she was there, you know. So she came up with the plan that we will call my husband and she would be the one to speak to him. I didn't have any problem with that because it was Mandy and I trusted her. I really thought the prank call was not going to cause any harm because we were just playing. So I let my friend make the call to my husband, pretending to be another man and claiming that I had met my dream guy while out. I was giggling, thinking it would be a funny joke to play on him. So during the day, Mandy told me to send my husband a text and tell him that I won't be coming back home, but I'll come back the following day. I did as told because I was still ashamed and scared of going back home after the abomination that I had done. I felt dirty and my mind was busy playing the events of the previous night. Later that day, a group of close friends and I decided to enjoy a rare evening of fun and relaxation. As a busy professional and a devoted wife, such outings were few and far between. I joined my friends for a night that promised laughter and good times, oblivious to the impending disaster. The atmosphere of the night was vibrant, filled with laughter, music, and the camaraderie that only long-term friendships can bring. We gathered at a popular local bar, its atmosphere a mix of dim lights, upbeat music, and the hum of conversations. As the night progressed, the drinks flowed and the mood lightened. We reminisced about old times, shared stories, and indulged in the kind of carefree banter that adulthood rarely allows. The birth of the idea. Among the group was Mendy, known for her mischievous sense of humor. As the evening wore on, Emma suggested a prank call. It was meant to be harmless fun, a throwback to our younger days when such antics were commonplace. The suggestion sparked laughter and excitement, a welcome addition to our night of revelry. However, the target of the prank and its nature were yet to be decided. The prank call, the proposal. Mendy's eyes twinkled with mischief as she proposed the idea. "Why don't we prank call Bradley?" she suggested. "Let's tell him you've met your dream man tonight." The suggestion was met with laughter, and the alcohol-fueled atmosphere dulled our sense of caution. Despite a momentary hesitation, I found myself agreeing, caught up in the playful spirit of the evening. The execution, Mendy took my phone and with a theatrical flourish dialed Bradley's number. The group fell silent, anticipation hanging in the air. When Bradley answered, Mendy launched into her act, adopting a tone of exaggerated excitement. "Bradley," she said, "you want to believe this. I think I've met my dream man tonight." She described an imaginary scenario with vivid detail, portraying me as utterly captivated by this fictional person. On the other end of the line, Bradley's initial confusion quickly turned to disbelief. "What are you talking about?" he asked, his voice tinged with a mix of confusion and rising panic. Mendy continued the charade for a few more moments before the tension in Bradley's voice became palpable. Realizing the joke had gone too far, she hastily ended the call with a laugh, declaring it was all in jest. However, the damage was already done. The immediate aftermath of my return home. When I returned home, the atmosphere had shifted dramatically. Bradley was waiting, his face a mask of anger and hurt. The lightheartedness of the evening vanished in an instant as I saw the turmoil in his eyes. The prank, which seemed harmless at the time, had clearly struck a nerve. My attempts to explain and apologize were met with cold silence, his anger simmering just beneath the surface. The confrontation. The confrontation that followed was intense. Bradley's voice trembled with a mix of anger and pain as he expressed his feelings of betrayal and confusion. "How could you do that?" he demanded. "Do you have any idea how that made me feel?" His words cut deep, each one a reminder of the trust I had so carelessly undermined. I tried to explain that it was just a joke, but the damage was already done. A few weeks later, things reached a breaking point. Mark sat me down one evening, his expression somber and resolute. "I can't do this anymore," he said quietly. "The trust is gone, and I don't see a way to fix this." His words hit me like a punch to the gut. "What are you saying, Bradley?" "I'm saying I want a divorce," he replied, his voice steady but filled with sadness. "I can't stay in a marriage where I don't feel secure or respected." I was stunned, unable to comprehend the gravity of the situation. "But it was just a joke, Mark. A stupid, thoughtless joke." "It wasn't just a joke," he said, shaking his head. "It was what it revealed about us, about you. I need someone I can trust completely, and I don't feel that with you anymore." One day, my husband found out about my affair. He was devastated, heartbroken. I had betrayed his trust and shattered our marriage. He was still angry at the fact that I had let my friend prank call him saying that I had found my dream man. I don't know how he found out about my night with Lucas. I had thought that I had managed to keep things in the dark. Another thing, only Mendy knew about what happened between Lucas and I, so it was just clear that she might have a hand in Bradley finding out about my abomination. But as they say, what goes around comes around. And boy, did karma hit me hard. It didn't take long for my husband to discover my infidelity. The pain and betrayal in his eyes were unbearable, and I knew that I had made a grave mistake. It turns out that karma has a way of catching up with you when you least expect it. And let me tell you, it hit me hard. Only if I had a rejecting backbone, all of this would have been avoided and I wouldn't find myself in the sticky situation. I realized then that my friend's advice was not only wrong, but also incredibly hurtful. I had let her words manipulate me into making a terrible decision. I soon realized that my friend's misguided advice was not only wrong, but also incredibly damaging. I had allowed myself to be influenced by someone who didn't have my best interests at heart. Another thing I was asking myself was how my husband found out about what I had done. Only 2 people knew about my infidelity. It was the person that I had cheated with and my friend Mendy only. I wondered who might have told Bradley about the cheating that I had committed. You know, when Bradley found out about my infidelity, he confronted me about it. Mind you, that time I was still trying to make him forgive me for the prank call saga. And now the cheating bomb comes up. It was a mess, I tell you. I tried to deny it, but my denial was nothing because the man had evidence of what I had done. He had a video of me kissing Lucas. I prayed for him to not find out what had really gone down at that party. He only had the video of me kissing Lucas, and I was glad with that because I would have lost my husband if he was to find out. That's what my mind was telling me. Little did I know that a week later he would get the video. I didn't know who was busy sending him videos of things that I had done. As I faced the consequences of my actions, I learned a valuable lesson about the power of karma. Cheating on my husband not only hurt him, but also shattered the trust and love we had built over the years. Now I'm left dealing with the consequences of my actions. My husband and I are trying to work through our issues, but it's not easy. We had started a couples therapy together. I told him that I was intoxicated and I didn't think about what led me to kiss the guy. That time I was trying to fix my things with my husband because of the kiss situation. But things got out of hand when he received the video of me and Lucas getting it down. I don't know who must have taken a video of me, but whoever took a video had straight intentions of destroying my marriage. And guess what? He or she succeeded because with all the effort that we had pulled up to fix our relationship, it went down the drain and there was nothing I would do about it. My conscience told me that Mandy knew about the video that was sent to Bradley, and I really suspected her. As much as she didn't like Bradley, but maybe she had his number. You would never know with Mandy, but I knew her and how she is. After Bradley received the S*** tape, I knew there and then that my marriage was over, and thanks to the person who sent the video to Bradley. And thanks to my nonchalant and ignorant self, I should have known that all of that was a trap. Being stopped to go home when I wanted to go and connecting me with the Lucas guy was all Mandy's plan of making me cheat on my husband. Now I have lost everything I had, and I don't know how I would survive without the only person who understood me for who I was, and not what I had to offer. I tried to apologize to Bradley, but he didn't want to hear any of it. To say he was angry would be an understatement. The man was furious, enraged with the mix of heartbreak. The damage was too high and there was nothing to do in order to fix it. Not even therapy sessions would have helped. I had destroyed the most valuable thing in my life, all because I had let myself get manipulated by a person I called a friend. My heart and mind was not at peace, knowing that someone had a hand in destroying my marriage. So I had to find out who had sent Bradley the videos of me. That person knew how to get Bradley. I wanted to find out who it was so that I would be at peace knowing the truth. I know it wasn't going to fix my marriage and my relationship with Bradley, but I felt like I needed to know the person behind my sorrows. That person had managed to destroy me emotionally and mentally. I went back home since Bradley didn't want me anywhere near him. It was like I was disgusting to him or something. He told me to wait for our lawyer anytime soon to deliver divorce papers because he can't be with a loose person with no common sense. He was angry at the fact that I had lied to him about my whereabouts, and another thing was that I was gone with Mandy to a party. He knew and understood that I am an introvert and I didn't like going out in crowded places, but I had gone with Mandy, which was something that fueled him more. During my investigation, I had found out that my so-called friend Mandy had actually paid the guy Lucas to sleep with me. I just couldn't believe it, you know. So Mandy had decided to sell me to Lucas, all for what? So when I was still reading what I had got during my investigation, it showed that Mandy had been texting someone in a seductive way. My husband, but Bradley didn't pay any attention to her stunts. I then realized that she came up with the prank call plan to cause a rivalry between my husband and I just because she was jealous of my marriage. I was so shocked when I discovered that my friend that I had taken and treated like a sister was actually the same person who had destroyed my marriage, and not to stop there, she was busy seducing my man behind my back. I now understand why Bradley didn't like her and my aunt had warned me against her. I was so naive and Mandy took advantage of that to destroy me. I was so heartbroken and shuddered. I didn't know what to do because as much as I was heartbroken at the fact that I had cheated on Bradley and he filed for a divorce. Another thing was my separation from my husband. On the other hand, the person I had trusted with my life had betrayed me in the worst way possible. Till today, I am unable to move on from what had taken place. I miss my home, my husband, and how our love used to be. I didn't take any actions regarding what I had found about Mandy, and I decided to just leave her alone and focus on my life. I believed that what was happening to me was actually karma for cheating on my husband. The pain I was feeling when I found out that Mandy was the reason for my marriage to end, it was too deep, and it hurt more than a divorce. I want to forgive myself and forgive Mandy for what she had done and what I had done, but it wasn't easy. It felt like the more I tried to allow myself to forgive and forget, the more I was hurting myself. My divorce with Bradley hasn't been finalized, and I am praying that he comes back to his senses and allows us to try again and fix our marriage. I wish he could give me a chance to rectify my wrongs and fix what is broken. I know I had not only broken our marriage and trust, but I had also broken the heart of the only person who had shown me genuine love and care. Bradley had been there for me throughout everything that I was going through. He had helped me find myself again after my parents' passing and the ill treatment I was getting from my distant family members. My aunt was so disappointed in me when she heard the truth of why I was coming back home, and I don't blame her. Bradley's decision to divorce me set off a chain of events that would turn my life upside down. The legal process was long and arduous, filled with emotional turmoil and financial strain. Despite my attempts to reach a settlement, Bradley was adamant about leaving me with as little as possible. The divorce proceedings were brutal. Bradley's lawyer painted a picture of me as reckless and untrustworthy, using the prank call as evidence of my irresponsibility. My lawyer tried to argue that it was an isolated incident, but the damage to my reputation was done. The court ruled in Bradley's favor. I was left with almost nothing: no house, no significant assets, and minimal financial support. The life I had known was shattered, and I was left to pick up the pieces on my own. With the divorce finalized and my financial situation dire, I was forced to make drastic changes. I moved into a small apartment far removed from the comfortable home I had shared with Bradley. The loneliness was overwhelming and the sense of loss was profound. I took on multiple jobs to make ends meet, working long hours to pay bills and rebuild my life. The strain of starting over was immense, but it also gave me a sense of purpose and determination. I was determined to prove that I could survive and thrive despite the setbacks. As the months passed, I found myself reflecting on the events that had led to my downfall. The prank call was a catalyst, but it was clear that deeper issues had been festering in my marriage. Bradley and I had failed to communicate effectively, and our trust had eroded long before that fateful night. I began to focus on personal growth, seeking therapy to address my own issues and understand my actions better. Therapy helped me gain insights into my behavior and the dynamics of my relationship with Bradley. It also provided me with tools to build healthier relationships in the future. One of the hardest parts of my journey was finding forgiveness, both from Bradley and from myself. I reached out to Bradley hoping to apologize and seek closure. To my surprise, he agreed to meet. Our conversation was raw and honest. I apologized for the hurt I had caused and acknowledged the pain I had inflicted. Bradley, in turn, shared his own regrets and admitted that he had been struggling with his own issues. While we didn't reconcile, our conversation allowed us to part on better terms. It was a step towards healing, and it provided me with a sense of closure that I desperately needed. With time, I began to rebuild my life. I pursued further education to improve my job prospects and eventually found a stable career that provided financial security. I also rekindled old friendships and made new ones, creating a support system that helped me navigate the challenges of my new life. Through therapy and self-reflection, I learned to value myself and set boundaries in my relationships. I also discovered a passion for writing, using it as a therapeutic outlet to process my emotions and experiences. Years passed, and I found myself in a much better place, emotionally, financially, and personally. I had built a life that I was proud of, one that was rooted in self-respect and resilience. One day, while attending a friend's wedding, I met someone new. James was kind, understanding, and patient. We connected on a deep level, and as our relationship grew, I found myself experiencing a sense of happiness and fulfillment that I hadn't felt in a long time. James and I took things slowly, building a relationship based on trust and mutual respect. He understood my past and supported my journey towards healing. With him, I felt safe and valued, and I realized that I had finally found a partner who complemented me in every way. My journey from heartbreak to healing was long and arduous, but it taught me valuable lessons about trust, communication, and self-worth. I learned that true love is built on a foundation of mutual respect and honesty, and that effective communication is essential in any relationship. I also discovered the importance of self-forgiveness and personal growth. Mistakes and setbacks are inevitable, but they can also serve as opportunities for learning and growth. By addressing my own issues and seeking to understand myself better, I was able to build a healthier, more fulfilling life. As I look back on the events that led to the end of my marriage and the subsequent rebuilding of my life, I am filled with a sense of gratitude. While the journey was painful, it ultimately led me to a place of strength and self-awareness. I am now in a loving and supportive relationship with James, and we are building a future together based on the lessons we have both learned. I continue to pursue my passion for writing, using it as a way to connect with others and share my experiences. Looking back, I could see the many mistakes I had made and the lessons I had learned. The prank call was a foolish and thoughtless act, one that had far-reaching consequences. But it also taught me the importance of trust, respect, and communication in a relationship. I learned that actions have consequences, and that the bonds of trust can be fragile and easily broken. I understood the importance of considering the feelings of others and the need for open and honest communication. These lessons, though learned the hard way, helped me to grow and become a better person. The journey from that ill-fated night to my new life was long and difficult, filled with pain and challenges, but it also showed me my own strength and resilience. I discovered that I could overcome even the most devastating setbacks and build a new and fulfilling life. The support of friends, the love of my daughter, and the new relationship with James all helped me to heal and move forward. I found joy and purpose in new ways, learning to appreciate the small moments of happiness and the connections with those around me. As I stood on the threshold of my new life, I felt a sense of hope and excitement. The pain of my past would always be a part of me, but it no longer defined me. I had the strength to face the future and the wisdom to build a life that was filled with love, trust, and fulfillment. I embraced the opportunities before me, ready to create new memories and forge new connections. The journey had been difficult, but it had also made me stronger and more resilient. I knew that I could face whatever challenges lay ahead and that I had the support and love of those around me. I learned the power of love and forgiveness. I forgave myself for my past mistakes and found the courage to move forward. I learned to love myself and to accept the love and support of others. This journey of healing and growth was a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the power of love to overcome even the greatest challenges. As I looked at my daughter and the life I had built, I knew that I had found a new beginning. The pain of my past would always be a part of my story, but it was no longer the defining chapter. I had the strength, the love, and the wisdom to create a future filled with hope and happiness. And with that, I stepped forward, ready to embrace whatever the future held. I've learned the hard way that cheating is never the answer. It only leads to pain and destruction. So if you ever find yourself in a situation where a friend is encouraging you to do something wrong, think twice. Consider the consequences and choose the path of honesty and integrity. Mendy really did a number on me, but I'm not complaining because she taught me a lesson that no one would teach me. I am now in a better space. I am happy and looking forward to creating more great memories with the one that I love now. Please help me with advice for a better and fruitful relationship.
It's really hard having to pretend like everything is okay while it's not. I don't know why I did it, but I did it anyway, despite my boyfriend's disapproval. I was told and advised to not spend any more time with the coach because it would not end well. With stubbornness and hunger for success in my acting career, I pushed all those advice at the back of my head and continued doing what I thought was right. But nothing happened. It was purely work. Maybe the coach might have tried making a move here and there, but I knew I had a boyfriend that I loved and held in very high regards. Guess what the boyfriend did? He made my life a living hell. He made sure that I suffocate and not be able to breathe. It felt like I was in the middle of the sea. I was drowning and I was trying by all means to get out and save myself. But someone was busy pushing me back inside to a point that I saw my life flashing right before my eyes. It was really toxic, and I was glad that I got a chance to finally walk away from the relationship. I won't lie and say I do not miss my boyfriend, or I no longer love him because I do, and I do so much. I knew he had a problem of always thinking for himself. He was arrogant to a point that he never considered someone else's feelings. As long as his own feelings are considered, another person is not important. Did I do wrong by wanting to chase my dreams? I thought he would change, but I guess I was wrong. Please tell me what to do to fix all the mess that my ex-boyfriend had made in my career because it's no longer promising. What should I do? So Quentin, my boyfriend, male 27, and I, female 25, met at an ultra music festival that always takes place around March 20-something in Miami. It is a 3-day festival, and I always make sure not to miss it. Well, me and my siblings always made sure to never miss it. It was like our tradition to always attend an ultra music festival. So as we were busy dancing and enjoying the music with my siblings, I decided to leave them a little and go to some trailer that was selling food and drinks. When I got here, I ordered my food since I was somehow hungry, and as I was about to pay, there came this handsome, random guy. He greeted us, me and the food seller, and the seller that he was going to pay for both my order and his. Well, at first I found that really weird and unsettling because in my world we no longer had Good Samaritans. So I wondered what the guy had wanted because we didn't even know each other. So I thanked him for the kind gesture and we continued chatting for a while. He was actually a very fun and sophisticated guy. Besides his charming and handsome self, he was what we call the IT guy. His blue hazel eyes were very hypnotizing. He was also a very sweet person and good company. We hung around for like an hour or two until one of my siblings approached us and told me that we had to go since it was getting pretty late. So Quentin and I exchanged numbers and promised each other that we would continue to chat over the phone. 3 days later, I received his call asking to meet up with him since he was around Coconut Grove, where I was staying. I agreed to the meetup, and we met at a local cafe that was not far from my home. We spent a lot of time chatting about our goals and objectives. It was really fun and a breath of fresh air to spend some time with him. I loved the fact that he was the guy with ambition and consistency to reach his goal in the entertainment industry since he was a filming producer. We had a lot in common, since I was also an aspiring actress. I was glad to find someone like him who would guide me, coach me, and help me build my acting career. That is what I had thought when I got into a relationship with him. Little did I know that I was getting myself a trap. There were red flags that I had noticed about him, but the way he was smooth with words, the way he knew how to make a lady melt and happy without even trying hard, made me put all that aside and focus on the present. Quentin and I started dating after going on a couple of dates. Well, more like we made our relationship official 3 months after we became friends. Our relationship was bliss at first. I was the happiest woman on earth. I had told him about my aspiring acting career and that I had dreams of becoming one of the best actresses in Hollywood someday. He was very supportive, He even told me that he would introduce me to his coach. Well, he was his fitness coach and an acting coach. I was glad that he was considering my dreams, and he was willing to help me get into a stepping ladder. Few days later, Quentin took me to his coach's house and introduced me. Well, it was more like a surprise to me because he didn't even tell me that his coach was Alex Frazier, male, 29. I was a big fan of his fiancée, Jessica, female, 25. She was living the life that I wanted to live. She was a true inspiration. Their relationship was what some of us only see on TV. It was so perfect. But social media life and real life are not the same, though I learnt that later. Alex was to become my acting coach. I was going to join his classes that took place 3 days a week, and the extra 2 days were for training. I was happy with the changes that were happening in my life. The path that my career was taking was the path that I had always wished for, and my boyfriend, or must I say ex-boyfriend, made everything easier for me. My classes with Alex were going to open so many doors for me. I have seen his phenomenal work before. Most of his students make it in the acting industry, and I had that hope that I would also make it. Weeks later, I started classes with Alex. Mind you, I had gone to an acting school and learnt the basics. But what Alex taught me was somehow new information to me that I didn't even know or learnt at school. Alex was or is known for his charisma and ability to bring out the best in his students. So being one of his students made me feel like I had achieved everything in life. He ran a very successful and well-known acting agency in Miami, name withheld due to personal reasons. Quentin was working as a film and music producer to one of the aspiring entertainment and filming companies in Pinecrest, Florida, Miami. So I had moved in with Quentin after we dated for 5 months. Well, the reason why I had moved in with him was because I wanted to be closer to him. I mean, he was more like my oxygen, and I couldn't live without him. Our relationship was more like an obsessive relationship. It was kind of toxic, but we enjoyed it like that. I don't know. Maybe I was too much within his grip and blinded by love, but I didn't find anything wrong with how our relationship was toxic. I kept attending my classes and training sessions with Alex. At that time, we were going to be shooting a short video that would help us in the future, in our acting career. Alex's words, not mine. Meanwhile, Quentin had advised me not to spend much time with Alex because I had started coming back to the apartment late, especially during training days, so Quentin didn't like that. Quentin was a very insecure and jealous person, so when I spent more time at the studio with Alex, he would get angry and start being delusional. As my professional relationship with Alex progressed, our bond grew stronger. We would spend countless hours together at the studio, working on routines, scripts, scenes, and discussing strategies for competitions. Alex's charisma and charm made me somehow feel special and valued. So Alex was a charismatic and charming coach who seemed to have all the right advice to propel my career forward. He believed in me, which was one thing that Quentin suddenly changed from. Quentin was no longer the supportive boyfriend. He never really asked me about my classes and training. All he cared about was himself and how big his name was going to be with the movie that they were filming and how much money he had spent to get Taraji P. Henson to be one of the leading stars. While Alex was pushing me to be the best in acting, little did I know that beneath his charming exterior, Quentin was a narcissist who would stop at nothing to control and manipulate me. He had shown me signs before, but I had never taken them seriously because I thought it was just a passing thing and work pressure. But the manipulation and controlling behavior kept getting worse, especially when I would come back late, when training took longer time. Quentin's narcissistic tendencies became more apparent as he sought to control and dominate my life. He would undermine me in the presence of other uprising actresses, making me doubt my abilities and isolating me from my teammates. Yes, he knew everything I was doing during classes and training sessions. He even knew about my projects that Alex would give us to work on. But he never really asked me about anything. I felt trapped, unable to escape the clutches of my narcissistic boyfriend. One night, after a particularly grueling training session, I found myself seeking solace in Alex's arms. We spent the night together, and for a brief moment, I believed that my dreams were finally within reach. However, as days turned into weeks, I realized that my relationship with Quentin had taken a dark turn. He became someone I wouldn't recognize and didn't know. As the evening progressed, the line between our professional and personal relationship became blurred. I found myself caught in a whirlwind of emotions and gave in to the allure of the moment, spending the night with Alex. The next morning, reality hit me like a ton of bricks. She woke up with a sense of guilt and confusion, realizing the consequences of my impulsive decision. However, the aftermath of that night was far worse than I could have anticipated. My mind kept ringing Quentin's name and reminded myself that if he was to find out, hell would break loose and it would jeopardize my relationship with Quentin. But I didn't do anything with Alex, so it was not supposed to be a big deal, right? About a week later, Quentin went to New York for his film shooting. Mind you, he told me that the day before, well, more like the night before. I didn't know who Quentin was anymore. He had changed to be this dark person with a dark aura. I tried addressing the issue that we were facing with him, but he just told me that he was fine. He was just dealing with work and told me how high the pressure was for him. He promised me that he would get back to his original self and make it up to me when they are done filming the movie. The tension was too thick at the house, to a point that it even affected our intimate moments. Quentin was no longer the romantic Quentin. He was focused on what he was doing. And what would break my heart more was the fact that he wouldn't want to at least show up and show me support when we do training or shooting short scenes that would be involved on our acting resumes. One night, I was alone in the house, all bored and missing Quentin a lot. As I was busy scrolling down my social media feeds when I received a text message from Alex. It was really surprising because our classes were going to continue the upcoming Monday. He was actually telling me there were important parts of the scene that we should look through before Monday. So he suggested that I come over to his house so that we would go through them together. Because I loved what I did and I trusted Alex, I agreed to come over to his house. In my head, I was telling myself that nothing was going to happen, and the guy had a fiancé, so I was safe. Little did I know that when I got there, the fiancé was not present. Alex told me that she had gone home since there was a crisis that needed her attention. So we went through the scenes. We would also take short breaks and speak about our lives in general and our relationship fears. I ended up opening up about my relationship problems. Alex was a very good listener and a good advisor, so I didn't think confiding in him about what I was facing in my relationship with Quentin would actually cost me a lot. However, as the days passed, I noticed a gradual change in my professional life. Projects I had been working on with Alex diligently started to fall apart, important emails went unanswered, and my reputation began to suffer. I got confused and distraught. I couldn't understand why my once promising career was spiraling downward. A few days later, Quentin got back from New York. Mind you, he had gone for the whole month, and during that month, he had only called me a few times to check up on me. I had even thought that he was having an affair outside our relationship. I mean, I didn't know how to explain his sudden behavior and control freak tendencies. So one day he came back fuming. I was confused by why he was angry. I wondered what had happened at work. Little did I know that the guy that I love was actually angry at me. I was the problem. I tried speaking to him, but he kept asking about what he said to me, and asked if he had ever told me that I shouldn't spend more time with Alex and why I was spending the night at his house. I was shocked by his revelation. I didn't know what to say. My tongue just got tied for some reason. So Quentin, fueled by his own ego and desire for control, started sabotaging my every move. He would criticize my performance, belittle my achievements, and constantly remind me that I owed my success to him. After those hurtful words that he had said, my confidence began to crumble, and I felt trapped in a toxic cycle of love and manipulation. His words were a very sharp stab in my heart. I was not expecting that from him. It was very low, even for him. Months later, as my career took a downward spiral, I started questioning if my relationship with Quentin was worth sacrificing my dreams. I was determined to break free from his grip. I sought the support of my siblings, since they were the only friends I had, and parents, who had noticed the change in her demeanor. My family encouraged me to stand up for myself and reclaim my independence. My heart still yearned for Quentin's love and hoped that maybe he would change someday and be the Quentin that I had fallen deeply in love with. I knew he loved me, but sometimes love alone was not enough if you are happy. I tried talking to Alex about the sudden turn of events and tried to reason with him to at least conduct online classes with me because I would not be able to attend since Quentin was always with him during his free times. And the guy refused, telling me that he can no longer be my acting coach. I should try other acting agencies. I knew there and then that everything that I had worked hard for was slowly vanishing right before my eyes. One day, as I was going through Quentin's phone, I needed to find answers on why Alex would bail out on me all of a sudden. I knew that they had talked about me since they were close friends. I stumbled upon a conversation between Quentin and a mutual acquaintance, not Alex. To my horror, I discovered that Quentin had been intentionally sabotaging me behind my back. The conversations mentioned that he felt threatened by my success and wanted to ensure that I remained dependent on him. I couldn't believe it. I kept reading everything with my hands trembling and tears streaming down my face. The fact that I was one step ahead to the top, I was actually like a foot away to my success. The doors to my acting career were actually waiting for me to enter. But all that took 100 steps down to destroy me and my career. Just because of one night that I had spent with Alex, working on some scenes and scripts. I lost everything. Spending time with Alex cost me a lot. It cost me the love of my life, my future, my career, and took me straight to the bottom of the ladder. Devastated by this revelation, I confronted Quentin, pouring out my heart and expressing my deep disappointment. Quentin, unapologetic and dismissive, twisted the situation, blaming me for his actions and accusing me of being paranoid. With my newfound strength and determination of wanting to get to the bottom of everything, I decided to confront Quentin again about everything, exposing his true nature and breaking free from his hold. I had to find answers on why he was making my life so miserable, and why he was busy sabotaging everything I did. I didn't understand why he would do that to someone he claimed to love, or if he didn't love me. I was not about to feel guilty about something that I knew wouldn't put our relationship into such strings, because he knew I loved him so much to do that to him. I respected him as my partner, even though sometimes he was not deserving my respect. I left with shattered dreams and a sense of betrayal. I found myself at a crossroads. It was like I didn't know where to go or where to turn. I actually had no direction, and it was really weighing me up. I knew that I had to make a difficult choice and decision between staying in a toxic relationship or breaking free and reclaiming my life. I won't lie and say I didn't love Quentin, or I have flushed all my feelings for him because I didn't, and I still love him very much. Is that even normal? Through therapy and reflection, I recognized the toxic dynamics at play in my relationship with Quentin. I also realized that my worth as an actress and as an individual was not defined by his approval or validation. With newfound determination, I made the decision to break free from the toxic cycle. It was a difficult and emotionally draining process, but I knew it was necessary for my own well-being and future success. Summoning my inner strength, I decided to cut ties with Quentin, recognizing that my well-being and professional growth were far more important than any relationship. With determination and resilience, I sought support from my siblings, mentors, and therapy to rebuild my confidence and regain control over my life, just like how my family had advised me to. I had stayed with this guy through his manipulation and controlling while he would go for a month to do his filming things without even calling to check how I was. But because I had spent 2 nights with Alex, but it was strictly work-related, nothing else. So I realized that my success was not dependent on a toxic relationship, but on my own hard work, dedication, and talent. Slowly but surely, I began rebuilding my life, finding a new coach who believed in my abilities and supported me unconditionally. Through perseverance and resilience, I rose above all the challenges and setbacks, becoming a symbol of strength for others who had experienced similar toxic relationships. I used my social media platform to raise awareness about narcissistic abuse and the importance of self-love and empowerment. I did not only triumph in my acting career, but also in my personal life. I learned valuable lessons about the power of self-belief, surrounding myself with positive influences, and never compromising my dreams for anyone. Over time, I regained my passion for acting and flourished as an actress. I went on to achieve remarkable success, proving to myself and the world that I was capable of greatness. Through my journey, I became an advocate for recognizing and addressing toxic relationships in the entertainment community. Slowly but surely, I began to rebuild my career from the ground up. I surrounded myself with positive influences and focused on my own personal and professional development. Through hard work and perseverance, I emerged stronger than ever, proving to myself and the world that I was not defined by the actions of my narcissistic ex-boyfriend. Quentin had posted a lot about me, demonizing my reputation and opportunities. I realized that I had to take drastic measures to protect my career and my sanity. I gathered evidence of Alex's sabotage and reported him to the acting agency company where he worked. Alex was eventually fired, and I was able to rebuild my career without his interference. It took me a long time to heal from the emotional damage caused by my relationship with Alex. But I learned the hard way that it is important to be wary of people with narcissistic personalities and to set boundaries to protect oneself from their manipulative behavior. I eventually emerged from this experience stronger and more resilient. I continued to pursue my acting dreams and eventually achieved success on my own terms. I learned the valuable lesson that true success comes from within, and that it is important to surround oneself with positive and supportive people. To me, my story serves as a reminder that toxic relationships can have far-reaching consequences. It highlights the importance of recognizing and addressing narcissistic behavior early on, and the courage it takes to break free from such destructive dynamics. Ultimately, my journey of self-discovery and resilience became the catalyst for my success, as I learned to trust in my own abilities and create a brighter future for myself. Even though my heart still yearns for Quentin's love and touches, I knew that I had to choose myself and my career first. And I had to get out of the toxic relationship before it was too late. I know my heart should be hating Quentin for sabotaging my career and my reputation, but it still loves him. Am I wrong for wanting to get back with him and try and help him overcome his narcissist behavior? Because if it goes untreated and unspoken, it would become worse and he would do it to someone else. Please advise me, what should I do?